The landmark Supreme Court ruling striking down a New York state law on the books for more than a century. It required gun owners to show a heightened need, a proper cause, in order to carry a concealed handgun. The court ruling that violates the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms. The decision by a 6-3 majority of conservative justices, the 3 liberal justices dissenting. Justice Clarence Thomas for the majority, writing that citizens shouldn't have to explain to the government why they're seeking to exercise a constitutional right. But the ruling allows states to ban guns in, quote, sensitive places. That could include schools, government buildings, courthouses. But he specifically wrote all of Manhattan could not be declared a sensitive place. Tonight, President Biden, in a statement, saying he is deeply disappointed and that the ruling contradicts both common sense and the Constitution. New York Governor Kathy Hochul calling the decision reckless and reprehensible and will make it harder to protect families and prevent gun violence, in her words. The governor calling a special session of the state legislature to respond. And New York City Mayor Eric Adams calling the decision deeply disturbing, saying a city as densely populated as New York, that the decision is just not rooted in reality. But the ruling tonight impacts not only New York, but 7 other densely populated states with similar laws where 80 million Americans live. We have reaction on both sides of this here in New York tonight. But first, Terry Moran, who's covered the Supreme Court for years for us on this story.
For more than a century, New York State has had one of the nation's strictest laws regulating the concealed carrying of firearms. But today, the Supreme Court struck that law down. The New York law required anyone seeking a license to carry a concealed handgun to show they had proper cause, a special need for it. But by a 6-3 majority, the court today declared that law violates the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the court, we know of no other constitutional right that an individual may exercise only after demonstrating to government officers some special need. It is not how the Second Amendment works when it comes to public carry for self-defense. The New York law, Thomas wrote for the court's 6 conservative justices, gave local officials too much discretion over a constitutional right.
Why isn't it good enough to say I live in a violent area and I want to be able to defend myself?
Now New York must revise the 109-year-old law in accordance, Thomas wrote, with this nation's historical traditions of firearms regulation. Today, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, swift in her reaction.
This decision isn't just reckless, it's reprehensible. It's not what New Yorkers want. And we should have the right of determination of what we want to do in terms of our gun laws in our state.
President Biden, in a statement, said the ruling should deeply trouble us all, adding, in the wake of the horrific attacks in Buffalo and Uvalde, we must do more as a society, not less, to protect our fellow Americans.
I think it's a bad decision. I think it's not reasoned accurately, but I'm disappointed.
In his dissent, Justice Stephen Breyer mentioned the nearly 300 mass shootings that have occurred this year, saying the court's decision does not consider the potentially deadly consequences and that it burdens states' efforts in preventing gun violence and protecting the safety of its citizens. But Justice Samuel Alito firing back, writing, how does the dissent account for the fact that one of the mass shootings near the top of its list took place in Buffalo? The New York law at issue in this case obviously did not stop that perpetrator. The head of a gun rights group that brought the case saying he's relieved.
We are not the problem. The problem is the criminals and the wrongdoers in the state, and the politicians have to learn that.
The decision is also being hailed as a landmark win for the NRA. 80 million Americans live in states with laws similar to New York's, and it remains to be seen how those laws might change.
Under this opinion, those laws are also likely unconstitutional. And so all of those states are now going to have to go back to the drawing board and pass new laws, regulating the ability to carry guns outside of the home.
All right, so let's get to Terry Moran on this potential ripple effect across the country. He's live at the Supreme Court tonight. Terry, big picture here. Do we expect to see a wave of challenges in states with similar laws to New York's?
Sure do, David. There are 8 states by our count that have very similar laws to New York's, but this case has impact nationwide and on many other regulations because under it, every American has a constitutional right now to carry a gun for self-defense in public. The court leaving the door open for regulation in those so-called sensitive spaces like government buildings, maybe public transportation like the subway, and private establishments like taverns or churches are exempt. But the bottom line here, there'll be many more Americans carrying many more guns in public. David?
Terry Moran live at the court tonight. Terry.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.